I'll try this then. Okay, we're going to get going here. Thanks everyone for attending today. This is our first ever virtual financial literacy program. Of course, we're just joking earlier about how we like to normally give out bribes with pizza and canned candy and stuff to keep people interested. So today we're just going to have to use various tools at our disposal, including our wit and wisdom, which hopefully will be enough today. My name is Craig Reed. I'm a partner with Virtus Group, and I've been with the firm about 20 years, and so I would work with some of your parents. I'm in the Regina office, so hopefully we have some people joining from our Saskatoon client base as well. And of course, all over the province is useful with the virtual method. We've got Ashley Lugner, our marketing manager here in Regina, that's joining us. Give a wave, Ashley. If people can't tell you apart from Mark, I think it's maybe, you're easy to tell Ashley apart. So Ashley, what can I say about Ashley? What, silver medal in the Worlds for wakeboarding? You've won Canada a few times in your history.
Yep.
So if you need some wakeboarding lessons, Ashley's your person. And then I'd like to really give a big thanks to Mark Stefan from RBC Dominion Securities, who's here today. He's the star of the show. He's the talent. He's the sizzle, and I'm not really steak. I don't have much substance today. He's sizzle and steak. So Mark, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself a little bit about why you're passionate about this program.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I've been privileged to be in the investment and planning world for 36 years, and one of the things that's happened over the years is just identified a strong need for everyone at a younger age to really begin to understand the issues around the basics of finance and how money works and debt and all those things. I think it's something that's missed in the educational system, and not everyone has the benefit of perhaps parents that raise them in a certain way. So I saw a great need, and I'm passionate about it. I've got 3 kids of my own that are all in their mid to late 20s, and this was part of it. So big passion for me to help people get some information, some really core information with financial literacy.
Yeah. So of course, I'll go through the ground rules now then. So today, of course, we got the 101 today, 101, 102 tomorrow. So hopefully those can join us tomorrow. We are attempting to record this. We'll see how it goes because, again, not a Zoom expert over here. I'm an accountant. But in terms of if you're on a laptop, if you hover your mouse near the bottom of the screen, that's where all these different functions are available to you. If you're watching on a phone, then if you tap the phone, these options will pop up. So I just want to go through them a little bit. The Q&A option will be used to those are questions you can ask directly to the panelists. So Ash is going to kind of moderate that today and ask any questions that come up. We may not be able to get to them right away, but we'll get to them at least by the end of the presentation. And certainly, if you have a question at any point, that's what Mark and I kind of thrive on, is the interactiveness. So certainly please use that function to ask questions directly to us. The other thing that's down there is the chat function. And we saw Bonnie had sent a message that went to panelists, so that didn't go to everybody. Our hope is that when you want to send a note to the panel, that it would go through the Q&A function. And the chat function we can use more for a general to everybody if you want, because that way everyone can see sort of the stuff that's going on in the chat. So at certain times in the presentation today, we're going to be asking you for some feedback that you can use the chat function. As well, if you're comfortable, there's that raise hand function someone was trying out at the start. I can actually enable you to speak, and I can allow you to talk and sort of ask the question verbally if that's going to be a little bit easier for you. Depends on your level of comfort and all that, and also my level of technological know-how, which is debatable at any point. What else did I want to cover off? I think that's everything. So, the biggest thing that I'm most excited about, aside from just sharing the stage with Mark Stefan and Ashley today, is we're going to have some poll questions pop up throughout the presentation. And so we'll get some anonymous feedback from you, and then the thing will automatically pop up for the poll, and then we'll be able to publish it so you can see everybody's answers. So we'll have a few of those going on through today. So what I'm going to do is start sharing my screen so you can see the presentation slides, and Mark's going to kind of take over, but we'll open up once we get in there with we'll start with a poll in terms of where you're at in your stage of life, just so that we can kind of get a sense of that as well. So I think I've got this handy. So this is the first one. So I'm going to launch this poll, and I'd love for everyone to answer as promptly as you can. I just want to get a sense of where everyone's sitting at in their stage of life. Oh boy, everyone's all over. They're all over this polling. This is great to see. So much participation early. 19 to 22. Okay, well, 3 people have had haven't been able to answer, but we'll just publish it now. Okay, share the results. So here we go. So we got a few people still in high school, one person working outside after high school, a bunch of people still in university, some people that have completed it, and some others. So that's good. A good broad spectrum, which is normally what we see, Mark, in this session. It's a great time for anyone in these areas is going to get some good stuff out of today. So I'll turn it over to you, Mark, now for the big show.
Great. Thanks so much, Craig. And yeah, it's encouraged by that. I will make a comment. It's some of these things, it's always easier for application if you've had some experience with it. So for those that haven't, perhaps if you're still in high school and get rolling, doesn't matter. This is all excellent information. The one thing that's going to happen as well, not all of it may seem applicable, or you may not be interested in all of it, but it will plant the seed for things that you will encounter later in life when it comes to finances. So if you don't mind, maybe second poll question. Do we want to throw that out right now just before we jump in?
Yeah, sure thing.
Great.
I'm loving these polls. This is great. So we're just trying to find out from you, get a flavor of what you're hoping to learn from today. And if none of these fit what you're trying to do, then just abstain from voting and we'll keep moving. There's a lot of deliberation on this one, so people are weighing what is it exactly that they want to know. It seems.
And you can only select one, right? You can't select multiple.
That's correct. Yeah. That's a limitation of polling, which probably is not necessarily a limitation, just a limitation of our understanding of technology. So
right.
I'll just share the results there. So saving money for the future seems like a big one. That's a teaser on a future question that we'll maybe have. Yeah, that's good.
Wonderful. That's excellent. Very good. Thanks everyone for participating. We can roll to the next slide there, Craig. It's good.
It should work. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we are. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is our first session today. As Craig mentioned, it's designed for sort of a 75 to 90-minute session. As we feel it could roll a lot quicker because we're online, but certainly we want your participation. We want questions as we go. We've had our introductions and our housekeeping. We're going to start with something called habits around two types of people, the impact of inflation, a little thing that's really nifty to know called the Rule of 72, something called the priority pyramid, and we're going to deal with two priority pyramids, one today around what we call money sense, and the one tomorrow around planning, more to do with overall financial planning in a broader sense. We'll talk about debt. We are going to have two interactive exercises at the end. The budget planner, which by not wanting to look for applause on this one when it gets there, but this is the one people have the most fun with. It is a little frustrating because we will complete it as a group. So it's certainly something that can be provided. I know it's been provided on the website before, a budget planner that you could use. I think Ashley is going to make it available after. We didn't talk about that in detail, but we have in the past where we made the budget planner available for people that want to use it to do your own specific budget. And then the last one is just a nice little lesson on income tax and preparing a tax return. Don't be afraid. We're talking about very, very generally. This is just to give you a sense of understanding how tax works and how we have to pay tax and remit tax and all those fun things. So that is the agenda. Just before we get rolling into the two types of people, a chat question, Craig. We're going to answer this in the chat or raise your hand. The question for you is, what is your very first memory around money? You could have been just a small, like maybe not even 5 years old. You could have been early on. You could be in your teens, but your very first memory around your experience with money. Craig, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can start us off. Mine's a little,
sure.
It's not the most exciting one, but I remember being at my brother's hockey game and sort of begging my mom for money so I could go to the canteen and get some, say, 5-cent candies. I was big on cherry twists and blue whales. Those are hard to find nowadays, but that's kind of begging money so I could spend it. That's my first memory of money.
Perfect. Well, that's a good one. How about you, Ashley? Do you have one?
I don't really know. Like, I know my family was huge game players, and I remember some like Remoli gambling with pennies and stuff, and always wanting to get all the pennies, even though they don't even exist anymore. But
It's a good one.
that's kind of what I can think of.
Nice. We have some coming in.
Yeah, Dana said her first allowance at age 4 was $1.50.
Wow.
That's
That was
big
big
dollars.
money back
That's
then.
good.
Mine was 25 cents.
And then they
That's
stole it all
good.
from you at the Remoli game too, which is
Yeah.
backs on it.
Well,
Unfortunate.
yeah, thanks for that, Dana. So, Dana, do you remember what you used to do with that money?
Dana, if you're willing to
Put
talk,
Dana on the spot.
talk if you'd like.
No.
Oh,
Kayla?
we got oh, 1 second. She's
1
gonna.
second.
We'll come back. We'll come back to Dana, but
Okay. Kayla sent us one.
The Tooth Fairy always left money behind, loonies or toonies.
Yeah,
that's
there's a good one.
interesting.
That's a good one.
I've heard there's
yeah.
inflation to $5 nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I've also heard a weird thing about leaving glitter in a glass, and then the Tooth Fairy comes, and you can tell it comes because the glass of water turns a different color.
Oh,
I don't know who
Get out
these
of
moms
pain.
are that are
Then
doing
that's
all this
good.
at work, but
interesting. Good. And then we had, that's good. Oh, Dana helping with recycling. There's a good one. Perfect. Excellent. Good. Well, listen, that's going to roll us into the next. Thanks for sharing. And so you are, for the rest of you, you're off the hook, because normally when we do this in person, we go around the room and every single person gets to talk about their first memory of money. So Dana and Kayla carried the ball for you on that one.
Yeah, next time we have a chat ? And I don't get participation, I'm going to call out some people I know in the attendee list. So they better get ready, I think, for that.
Perfect. They've been fairly warned. Right on.
Yes, that's right.
Good. So let's jump to our next slide. So 2 types of people. Really, you're going to fit in one of 2 categories. We are going to ask for a little bit of a poll question when we're done here, just a little precursor. So 2 types of people. Craig?
Yeah, there's a lag with the flipping. Sorry.
Oh,
so it's
no worries.
it's quite the lag.
yeah, but then I'm worried about flipping too far. See, there we go. Okay, there we
There
are.
we go.
Yeah.
Good. Good. So here we go, everyone. We've got 2 types of people. We've got people in the first circle that save a definite amount first and spend the balance every month. The other type of person we have is those that spend first and try to save what's left, if in fact there's any left. So, poll question. Can I rephrase it just slightly differently? The poll question is, which circle do you belong in? Do you belong in the saver first circle or the spender first circle? Who sits where?
Oh, we've got an all-time high in terms of responses here. We've got 21 folks. So I'll just, 22. All we need is one more. We'll go to 30 seconds. Must not have the capability necessarily. There's the results.
Wow, look at that. We've got a good group of savers on our hands. And appreciate everyone's honesty. It's not always easy being straight up if, obviously people are always ready to say, oh, yeah, I'm a good saver. But the real honest people are the ones that say, yeah, I'm a spender. And I think we all do both. But if you can find the discipline to always save first and spend the balance, I think you're going to be well on your way for having money. And the big objectives that everyone put down was learning how to save money for the future is one of the big ones. Just know one thing, the people in the second circle often work for the people in the first circle, believe it or not. Not always, but oftentimes those that have saved some money have money to open businesses and do things. I know there are other ways to do that. Certainly you can leverage what you've saved to borrow more to open a business. So just remember that it's a solid principle to be able to save, then spend the balance.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And we can continue on. Our next slide.
Okay. I'm really rattled by this lag because I can't. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we are. So we have a little thing for the chat room for, is that best way chat? Yeah, in the chat room. The question here is compound interest. Can anyone give us the definition of compound interest? And we often compare it to simple interest versus compound interest. Anyone want to give us a response? Give us teach us a little something on compound interest. Anyone giving us an answer?
I don't see anything yet. There's a lot of, deep thought going on right now, I'm sure.
Good.
And certainly if you want to send the messages to the panelists to sort of not have it broadcast to everybody, by all means, please do so.
Sure.
Ashley's going to be our default sort of picking on person, I think, if we need to answer any questions.
Good.
So Ashley's going to have to get ready. So save her from having to answer this, please.
Okay. Oh, here we are.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Dana. Interest that is accumulated is added to principal amount to be used for next year's principal. Perfect. 100%. So just to paraphrase for Dana, that was the point. If we have $100 and we earned 5% on that, at the end of the year, we'd have $105. The concept of compound interest, you now have that 105 to be invested, and it'll earn more than that the next time. So your $5 becomes $750, becomes and on, so that it compounds. So your money is working for you. Simple interest would be the person that invested $100, earned 5%, and at the end takes their $5 and spends it, and just continues to reinvest 100 so that their money isn't working or compounding for them. So thanks, Dana. That was right on. So here we go. A couple of twins, concept of compound interest.
Yeah, I'm really gun shy on this whole thing now, but we're going to get there. Yeah, we're going to get there.
Cool. So we have our twins, Lisa and Bart, both starting out at the age of 20. Lisa is starting at the age of 20. She decides she's that save first. She's in the first circle. She decides she's going to start saving $100 a month. Bart is far too busy. He's far too interested in skateboards and girls and all the kind of stuff that he's doing. Might be some other bad habits that go, given that he's 20 now and doing that. But he decides that he's going to worry about saving down the road. So they started out at age 20. By age 35, Lisa says, you know what? I've done a great job at saving my nest egg. I understand the idea of compound interest, and I think I'm good. Bart, on the other hand, realizes, oh my goodness, for 15 years, I've sort of been just spending money. I think I have to get onto a savings program. And he starts saving his $100 a month. Looking to the future in Craig's crystal ball, the page will turn.
Oh, wait, I was going to say who has more money. We want to do the poll here. Sorry, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's the question, everyone. Who has more money at 65?
So Lisa invested for 15 years at $100 a month, and Bart invested for 30 years at $100 a month, right, Mark? Because
Right
we're
on.
until age 65, yeah. There's a lot of deep thought here. It's a little slower than the spender versus saver. That was a gut reaction. This one's a little bit slower.
Yeah. So that was a great point, Craig. Craig mentioned, reminder is Lisa saved $1,200 a year for 15 years, and Bart saved $1,200 a year for 30 years. But Lisa started early and invested her money and let her money earn money on top of money.
Okay, I'll just close the poll now. Share the results.
Lisa, 2/3 Lisa, 1/3 Bart. Survey says, Craig?
Oh, there we go. Oh, geez. What drama? Oh, boy. There we go.
It's just a little different in person, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more in control, I think, in person. I'm a little nervous with this clicking here, yeah.
You bet. So if you give us the fact, there we go. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Lisa invested $18,000, but she did it early. Her interest was compounding at 5% on that $100 a month and allowed it to work to her benefit. Bart invested twice as much money. He invested $1,200 a year for 30 years. So he invested twice as much money for twice as long and doesn't have as much money as Lisa, because time truly is money. If you can start saving even a little bit of money every month and getting it invested, earning something, you are going to have the benefit of your money working for you. So compound interest is one of the most important concepts that any of us can grasp. Hopefully we can grasp onto to do that. So your money works for you instead of you having to always work to put that money aside. I don't know do we have any questions pop up? Anything popped up for us?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay. So if there aren't any questions, and once again, please feel free. I know it's a little strange doing this virtually and not in person. Oh, yes, Ashley, fire away.
Is it, so if someone has a steady job, would it be better for, my father always told me to put away half my paycheck, but is there like a percentage, like put away 10%, put away 18%, put away, or is it just put away what you can? Or is there like a formula?
Yeah, great question on that, Ashley, is that, and I don't think there's a magic formula. One of the things when we talk about for every dollar you earn, the first thing for the dollar you earn is you always have to make sure that you set aside enough money for tax. And depending at what age and stage you are, that might be, out of $1, you might have to set aside 25 cents at a younger age, 25 cents just to pay tax if you're working a full-time job that does that, which leaves you with 75 cents. You have to understand, well, if you could save 10, to your point, 10 cents, so 10% of every dollar you make, that is a great starting point. So I think that you can save at least 10% per year at a minimum, and it goes up from there. I think it's a very good thing. Some people, like, saving less than that becomes a challenge. And if you think about, we're going to get into some concepts tomorrow that talk in detail about different products that you can use and the type of savings you can do. So good point. I mean, if you were saving half your paycheck, your dad was giving you great advice. Well, you were, yeah, you were.
Yeah. That was the advice given. I didn't follow it.
Young Ashley was never at the bar, I'm sure, because she was saving half of it.
I was working at the bar. I wasn't spending money at the bar.
That's
there
a good
you go.
tip.
Hate the party.
That was my daughter was worked at Earl's all through university, and she graduated from university with no debt, with about $35,000 in the bank. So that was the good news story, because it helped them when she got married put their down payment on their first house. So once again, there are benefits.
Yeah.
Good. Inflation. All right. Next question. So maybe we can do a little chat in the chat room here. The question is, can anyone tell me just a simple explanation of inflation? What is inflation?
When we're in person, we can really guilt people with our stares,
No.
really lean on them. But virtually,
I thought you were
harder.
I thought you're calling
Well, Josh, I saw Josh Rieger on there, and I think Josh should have an opinion on this matter. I mean,
well, I'd like to know what his dad says. I'd like to know what his dad says if he doesn't answer this question.
Yeah, silence from Josh. This is going to get reported back, Josh. Just so you know, Jerry's not going to be happy. Oh.
There he is.
Hey, guilt came through.
Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks very much. So yeah, for sure, the usual increase in prices. So what happened back in the early 70s was they had to find a way to measure this impact. So they put together a basket of goods. So, price of bread. There you go. Price in the 40s was $1. Yeah, good. $1 was probably for a few loaves, that's for sure. Thank you, Dana. Perfect response. But that's exactly it. So what happens is they put this basket together. back in I think it was 1972, put a basket together, said basically what's fuel and milk and bread and a basket. And then what they did is they set that, and that became the index by which they continued to measure it. So each year they looked at that same basket of goods and says, how much has that increased? And they looked at that rate of increase, and that's what we refer to as the rate of inflation. So we look at that, and that's the concept of it. So the reality is, like Dana's example, a loaf of bread, 30, 40, 50 years ago was certainly a lot less than what a loaf of bread costs today. So let's just, before we flip to that slide, here's the poll question. So what's worth more, ladies and gentlemen, $1 today or $1 from 10 years ago? Which has more purchasing power?
Again, good deliberation, good thinking on this one. We're at 18 out of 24. Oh, 19, 20. People are getting the hang of it. I'm liking it. All right, I'll publish now here.
Good. Interesting. So those of you that said $1 10 years ago versus $1 today, absolutely right. Once again, that same concept. If you could have $1 from 10 years ago and it's been working for you, it had more purchasing power back then because the price of things have gotten more expensive. So if you want to flip to our slide, Craig, we'll show you just a little chart.
I'm very, oh boy, what happened here? This is no good. Oh, it went into the picture, sorry.
It's all right.
I'm gonna have to do some stuff here.
Craig, this is our first webinar.
This is our first webinar, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I need to get back into sharing the slideshow. Oh boy.
All right.
I'm gonna get there. It's just
hey, we've done pretty good. The first glitch and all of this stuff.
Yeah, I still got egg on my face. I feel very embarrassed. So here we are.
There we are. So here we go. This is the impact of inflation on purchasing power. So $1,000 today, okay, is if you start with $1,000 today and the rate of inflation is 2% per year, which we're very close to that. The core inflation rate goes anywhere from 1.6 to 2% on that basket of goods. So 5 years from now, the purchasing power of that 1,000 is eroded to $906. So in other words, what you can buy for $1,000 today, you're going to be short buying that $1,000 because you're only going to have really the power of $906. In 10 years, it erodes further, 20, 30, and so on. So here's where I just want to talk about the rule of 72. So rule of 72 is an interesting one. If you take the number 72, and if we work with compound interest first, so we've talked about compound interest, the rule of 72, if you could earn 6% on your money, what the rule of 72 says is take that 6%, take 6, divide it into 72, and the number that you get is the number that it will take to double your money. So if we could earn 6% on our money, it would take 12 years for it to double. If you had $1,000 today, 12 years from now, it would be worth $2,000. Okay? So that's the rule of 72. It actually works the same way in reverse, in essence, with inflation. If you have $1,000 today and you earn, inflation is 2% per year, you divide that into 72, it takes 36 years for your money to be worth half as much. And it's pretty close, right? If you take the $1,000, in 30 years, it's worth $552. In 36, it will be worth $500. So even though we are talking about the rate of inflation eroding your money, it's working against your compound interest, your multiplication of your money. So if you do nothing, remember, everything becomes 2% more expensive every year on roughly speaking on the basket. When you think about gasoline is one of those things that you say, well, gee, I don't know, it's a little cheaper now than it was even last year. And you'll have those types of things happen. But overall, gas is a lot more expensive today than it was 10 years ago. And going forward, it's always interesting. I know there's supply and demand and a lot of other effects in the economy. But the bottom line, remembering rule of 72, take the number 72, divide in the rate of interest you're earning. That's how long it's going to take to double your money. So here's one of the things we'll talk about tomorrow, are some of the investment products and what actually you can earn for rates of return on different investments. So there's a little teaser for tomorrow.
Yeah, you guys better attend tomorrow. Oh, it's a hot presentation topic.
You can still register if you want as well.
Yeah, exactly. Good. So here we go with the priority pyramid, money sense. So these are the areas. Good. Don't go any further, Craig.
I stopped.
Good man.
This is where you want to go here, yeah.
Yeah, right on. So there are those 6 steps in the pyramid. And one of the reasons a pyramid is often used, if you may or may not know this, but a pyramid is the strongest geometric structure that exists. So once again, versus a circle, a square, anything like that. So a pyramid is often used to talk about how to build a good base and then go from there. So when it comes to money sense, the very first question that is asked, and it's sort of like Monopoly here. If you have to go right to jail, you do not pass go, you do not collect $200. The first step says, are you earning more than you are spending? And it's an interesting question because lots of times people say, well, yeah, of course I am. But we're going to talk about when we get to the next one, because lots of people have credit cards and they don't pay their credit cards off every month. So in essence, you're actually spending more than you're earning because you owe money, you haven't made the money yet, which means your debt is higher than your income. So the second question is, have you eliminated credit card debt? So as I said before, this is like Monopoly. If you haven't eliminated credit card debt, then it's pretty tough to keep moving up the priority pyramid and saving money because you're already spending more than you're earning. How are you going to save any? And why you have to get back to those 2 circles. So the next question is, are you regularly contributing to your savings? So that's the people that are saving first, spending the balance. How you save it, in what type of vehicle you're saving it, is our discussion for tomorrow. We're going to talk about the different products you could use and how you might do that. So now if you say yes, you've answered yes, I'm earning more than I'm spending. Yes, I've eliminated credit card debt. Yes, I'm saving regularly. You move on to the next one. And it says, are you taking advantage of tax, what is that? Tax preferred?
Tax saving vehicles.
Tax saving vehicles. All the pictures are in the way here.
Yeah.
So that becomes the benefit. People, once again, those are the things we'll talk about once again tomorrow on the types of vehicles you use. You have to think about what age and stage you are right now. If you're still in school, if you're in a situation where you're not making enough money to be paying a lot of income tax, that might be something that's really not something you're doing. But once you get out and you're working full time, you'll definitely want to look at those types of products. Next, it says, are there investments, once again, we say on this, matching the performance of their benchmark index over time? Obviously a discussion for tomorrow.
Great question. Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah.
And then, or basically, are there other strategies that you could employ to maximize your goals? So as we work up that pyramid, there are different priorities you have. Most people are in those first 3. Most people that we have here on the call are dealing with Are you earning more than you're spending? Are you eliminating your debt on a regular basis, especially credit card debt? And are you saving regularly? When we come to talking about savings, we always talk about savings for short term, so less than 12 months, savings for medium term from basically 1 to 5 years, and then savings for the long term. So most people probably on the call are saving for the short term. I'm saving to take a vacation, and COVID has ruined that. So I'm going to have so much more money by the time COVID's done that I can take a really nice vacation. There are people are saving for a television or a new phone or a car. All of those things are type of medium-term savings things. And once again, it is a rare thing because lots of people don't have the discipline to save, then purchase something. It's all about having it right now. Well, I don't have to save money to buy a car. I'll just buy a car, and as long as I can afford the payment, I'm going to be fine. But once again, you get yourself into a spot because oftentimes that payment is a pretty high number that you don't want, but you're now caught between, well, that's the car that I want, so this is the payment I'm going to make, but now you have to give up something else. Thoughts on this one or comments, Craig?
I think just what you hit home there, Mark, is key. That we want to be higher up the pyramid always, but different stages of life necessitate different things. But especially the credit card debt is one thing we always want to get knocked down as much as we can, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything on this one that we wanted to cover. We'll send out the slides to everyone after the session because there will be some things that are a little more detailed that we don't go into every single bit on here. But I don't know, Mark, is there anything you wanted to cover here?
I think just the biggest one that we point out is, and people can throw this in on the chat, does anyone know what the average rate of interest that a credit card charges? No takers?
We'll get one. Don't worry. They're weighing their
Okay.
options right now. We can count on Dana for sure. Ooh,
Right on. Dana, good guess. 1921 Alley, right on.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. It's typically in that 21 is probably a pretty good rate. So thinking about what you learned about the rule of 72, if you're getting, let's just say you're getting charged 20% interest, okay, and it's the rule of 72, how long does it take to cut your money in half if you're carrying that debt? Not very long, right? So 3.5 years, and once again, you've lost the purchasing power of that dollar. So credit card debt is probably the most insidious thing that exists for people and their finances. And it's the number one thing. If you ever see those saving shows on television, there's Susie Ormond, and there's a whole bunch of them out there doing those things. The very first thing they do to get you to do is to cut up your credit cards. And if you don't have the discipline to use a credit card, then you probably shouldn't have one, is what they teach people. And really, it is about discipline.
Mark,
oh,
perfect. I want to understand this before we move forward. So probably the high school kids may not have the credit card, but everybody else does, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So pretty heavily weighted towards having one, yeah.
And once again, for everyone on the call, we would thank you for your answers. We would normally actually open it up to the room and have people share different stories about, and honestly, I think one of the good things is to be able to do that. It's, if someone wants to share a story about a tough lesson they learned with a credit card, it's good to share because almost everyone has. My good buddy, always his famous mantra was, they print new money every day. So in other words, go ahead and use your credit card because I'll print more money today than I can make and I'll pay the debt off.
Hey, if the debt's $10,000 today, I mean, the rule of inflation, Mark, it's going to be worth much less money in 20 years than it is today. You might as well get it, right? That's the thought.
There you go.
Except for the interest.
Right? Yeah. Well, don't point that out, Ashley. Let's not get
right on. So that's good. So debt. So there are actually two types of debt. We actually call it good debt and bad debt. So when we look at that, anyone want to throw us a response as to what you would call good debt or what you would call bad debt? Just throw something in the chat there. Tell us, give us an example of one or the other or both. Lisa, would a mortgage be a good debt? Great question, great example. I would agree with you that a mortgage would be a good debt. And the concept is you're borrowing money to invest in an asset that hopefully appreciates in value. It just becomes worth more. So that's the concept. And the whole idea about buying property, we're used to it in Saskatchewan. And Dana gave us bad credit card debt, gambling debt for
Well,
sure.
gambling debt, it can be a gambling solution too. It's not always a gambling problem. If you win, it's a solution, you know, so yeah.
Right on. And Bonnie, I see Bonnie's answer, good debt to invest in equipment to earn money. Absolutely. You can invest in a business, educational debt, department store credit debt, good, bad, right on, Allie. So educational debt is good debt, department store credit card, not so good. And that's exactly the concept. Good debt is really about borrowing money to grow your wealth or grow your dollars. Bad debt is really basically just for pure enjoyment or fun. Sometimes people like even borrowing money to buy a car. As I said, I think the best strategy is try and save a bunch to get at least put some money down so you don't have to borrow as much. And that would be the concept. But even if you need transportation, the whole idea is always within reason. And once again, you know, use the example that, you know, a Cavalier will get you to point A to point B, but of course, you know, a Lexus SC 420 or whatever is going to get you there in style. The challenge is, you know, once again, keeping it within reason.
Were you talking to someone that just bought a Lexus SC 420, Mark? I'm aware of somebody that just did. Yeah, he would have paid cash for it though. Yeah. So we talked before about having a credit card. So the idea of having a credit card, of course, is sometimes you're using that debt as in a bad way, sometimes maybe in a good way. So one of the things, the key things that we talk about in terms of getting debt is called the debt service ratio. So does anyone have any experience with the debt service ratio out there that we want to throw something up in the chat to take a stab at what that might be? I want to just see if there's anybody that's had to deal with this already. The dead air just kills me. I can't. Oh, I got nothing. Dana's our normal go-to here. Dana always comes up. So, okay, I'll just dive into it. So your debt service ratio is the metric that a bank will use to determine whether they should lend you money or not, basically. And the ratio is essentially they take your gross income. Let's say you make $10,000 a year. Because I'm using $10,000 because I want easy math. This is a trick accountants use, so just you can see through me. Obviously, $10,000 a year is not very easy. Let's jack it up to 100, Mark. Maybe it makes these people able to afford more stuff. So that's your gross income. Your gross income is $100,000 a year as a household. So a bank will lend you money up to a certain percentage of that gross income, and that, of course, Mark pointed out before, that's before tax income as well. And an average ratio that a bank will be comfortable lending you is to 40% of your total income. So they'll lend you money up so that you can make payments of $40,000 a year on $100,000 of gross income, all things considered. If you're at that level of debt service ratio, it can be a little bit challenging though. So it's a bit of a tough one. What a bank might be willing to lend you is very different than maybe what you should be borrowing, right? And so to Mark's point, saving before making a down payment is very important. The next slide, we talk about credit score and credit rating. So does anyone, oh wait, I've jumped ahead now because I don't actually want to have this slide up because I've given you all the answers now. Has anyone ever heard of credit rating and want to take a stab at what that means? I showed it for too long now. There's somebody's at least better have read the slide and has the answer now, please. In the chat if you can, if there's anybody. Dana, I'm looking at you. You're the go-to. You got the fast fingers. I'll just move on. I'm sorry.
Well, actually,
I biffed. Go ahead, Mark.
oh, just aggressive again. Actually, just hold that thought for a second, Craig. I just wanted to expand just slightly on, Craig gave me the information. So just remember how quickly it adds up. If he used that concept of someone making $100,000 a year, debt service ratio up to $40,000 a year in payments. So if someone's mortgage payment is $2,000 a month, that's 24,000 of that 40 right away. If their car payment is $1,000 a month, that's another 12,000. Those two added up is $36,000. That means if they have a credit card and they have debt on that, they have very little room until they actually can't they can't borrow money at a reasonable rate. They have to go to Guido down the alley and find some cash at some high rate.
Oh,
right?
that's a nasty racial stereotype against prejudiced
sorry, buddy.
Italians there. As a Romanian,
yeah,
I would
right,
think
right,
you'd be over there. Yeah.
But once again, the issue is that it's a really important thing that because people get themselves into debt trouble so quickly, and they say, well, why can't I borrow money? And they say, well, you have, and remember, for every outstanding credit card you have whatever that limit is working against you. So some people have 2 credit cards, each with a $5,000 limit. In the bank size, you actually have $10,000 of credit limit. You may not be using it, but once again, it goes to that calculation.
Yeah.
Some people have 3 or 4 credit cards because, oh, I opened up this one over here and that one over there. So with that, it ties into what Craig's going to walk us through just quickly on credit score and credit rating.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Mark. I think the big point about a credit score is it just is a quick and easy thing for a financial institution or a car dealership to pull up a report and say, how good is this person at handling credit? And so if Ashley goes to the car dealership and she wants to buy a brand new, actually you can't buy a brand new Lexus SC 420 because I don't think they make them anymore, but a brand new Lexus, they can pull up this credit score to say, how good is Ashley at credit, and am I willing to lend them any money? So one of the core aspects of having a good credit score is actually obtaining credit and using it responsibly. So we talked about the dangers of having a credit card earlier in the session, but realistically, those of you that have a credit card, it can be a really great tool in terms of building a credit rating. Because if you say, oh, I don't want a credit card because I've heard about the dangers of it, and I watched what's that woman on the W network that tears up all your credit cards when you're in money trouble. I'm smarter than that. That's a really good point. But if you can use it sort of, I guess, just responsibly, it can be a really good tool to build a credit rating. Because banks, car dealers, they all want to see that you've been able to access credit and use it responsibly. That sort of is what builds your credit rating, as well as having, a high, decent employment income, things like that. These are all things that go into your credit rating. So just an easy way for people to have a snapshot of whether I should lend this person any money or not. So having a credit card, normally they don't charge you any interest if you pay off the balance at the end of each month for purchases in that month. So that's a great way to sort of use the credit responsibly and not get dinged the interest charges that are there. Plus everyone loves air miles and points and all the rest of it as we go through.
Right on, Craig. So that's a perfect example of why you want to have that discipline. The other one is, the easiest one in the world, is your cell phone bill. Lots of people might walk away from a contract and go get one somewhere else. One of the number one things that takes people down on their credit score is a cell phone bill that wasn't paid or was left outstanding and someone switched and didn't even think about it, or being late on your payments. This slide that we're going to send out that you're looking at here talks about a number of those things. So if you're missing payments, that is impacting your credit score negatively. So one of the things you want to do is make your payments on time. And to Craig's point, if you have a credit card, make sure you're paying off the balance every month. So even if you're using it, some people actually put their cell phone bill through their credit card on a monthly basis. That's like, I know that's what TELUS does on our corporate plan. TELUS charges my credit card every month, but I have to make sure that I pay my credit card off every month just to maintain a good credit score.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a fundamental one for us. Ooh, this is my.
Here we go. Finally.
So I think I'm gonna. So get ready. Get your chat fingers ready, everybody. We're gonna just jump into a little exercise. Go ahead, Mark.
I'll give them the intro. So what we're gonna do, ladies and gentlemen, is we're gonna do a budget planner, and actually, Craig's just switching out so that it's totally interactive, and he's actually gonna drop in the the numbers in the screen. So as he said, on his point, get your trigger figures ready. Remember, we're just doing it collectively. So we're just going to put in numbers to create the concept of the budget, just to show you how it works. But this budget planner will be available to you. That will get posted for you to be able to use to go in and do your own. But this is just, so we're going to sort of hit the quick highlights. We're not going to fill in every category, but on a monthly basis, anyone just fire some numbers in here. On a monthly basis, how much would you spend on groceries per month? Now, for those of you living at home, it might be tough. You may not know what that is because your mom and dad are buying groceries. But if you have a concept of just buying groceries for food that you cook at home, how much a month do you think that is for most people? Ashley, you're going to be able to participate here. We're going to call on you. $400 from Kaylee. $225 a person. So perfect. I like those numbers. So, to the very point, Laney, Haley, 450, 300. Okay, so let's just do this for, let's just assume, what are we going to assume? A single person, a couple? What do we want to use in our example?
I'm not sure what's going on here. I can't.
It won't load?
Another, well, I can't.
You can't, oh.
Can't punch it in.
Huh.
I'm going to get it figured.
Okay. So that's good. So let's just use that. Let's just say, let's just use it as a single person for now, just for easy discussion. It's $400 a month for groceries for food you're going to cook at home. How about restaurant meals? How about eating out? What do you think? Think about a normal week or normal month. I know it's different with COVID, not being able to go to lots of those places, but how much a month do you think you would spend on restaurant meals? Ashley?
I'm a bad example.
Ah.
I don't eat out like ever.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Good for you.
I think my cooking's sometimes better than the food I pay for at a restaurant. So.
Very good.
But I don't know, maybe if I was to go out with my partner for one meal, it'd be like $150.
There you go.
So,
Ooh,
yep.
Going to the keg or something. We're going to do this manually. I'm going to do it on the side because I can't get this to work.
Craig, do you want me to share my screen? If you make me host, I can do it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Remember, Craig, when in doubt, go to the top.
That's right.
Don't wallow around, right? Like just.
Am I the host now?
I think so, yeah.
I am.
So we said 400 a month for groceries.
Yep. And how about chat room? What do we got going on for, oh, you threw EI in that. Okay, 400. So annually, that's 4,800.
Oh, yeah.
We got a
total, yeah. So let's do 4,800 in that groceries tab there, Ashley.
Yeah.
What?
Well, it's 400 a month, but 4,800 for the year.
We're doing it. It's annually. Sorry.
It's annually. Yep. No worries. Okay, everyone. How about restaurant meals? Let's get that chat room fired up. What are you thinking? There's a good one. 200, 150, 300.
300. I hesitate to say what I spend on that. I mean, these last 4 months, it's been.
Didn't you order lunch today?
Yeah, it's a work lunch, Ashley. It's a work lunch. I can rationalize it.
Okay, thanks everyone. Let's do that. So 200 a month, so $2,400 a year. Or no, yes, that's what we have. Sorry. How about for now? There are different people that are paying rent. There might be some people with mortgage and rent and all those things. Let's just put a simple number in there for rent or mortgage payment per month. How much is rent per month? 1,200, 1,650, 14, 11. Good, all good numbers. 16. So once again, why don't we just kind of find an average in there? Why don't we call it 1,400 a month? How does that sound?
16,800 then, Ashley.
Perfect. So once again, I don't know for lots of people if they're paying rent or mortgage. Obviously, you're going to have things like taxes, water, electricity, gas, those other things. So if we call it utilities, and we're just going to put it in other for all the utilities in once. We're not going to worry about taxes right now. Remember, folks, this is just to give you a quick concept of how quickly the numbers run up. and everyone is going to have a chance. Highly recommend to do your own budget. So how much are utilities per month? 600, 200, 200, 250 to 300.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. So let's, you know what? And I know it'll be higher. Let's just call it $300 a month. So $3,600 just for utilities. Household expenses. How about your phone? Oh, is there a Canadian average for all these numbers? Actually, Bonnie, great question. There isn't a Canadian average per se. Budgeting is really a personal thing, and everyone makes such different choices on from rent to mortgage to, like, everyone's across the spectrum on these things. So there aren't averages that I've seen. I know some people have put it in categories, you know, sort of single person, married couple with no children, family of 4. There are some of those out there, but this is just to give you a sense. The purpose of doing the budget is when we get to the end, we look at the number. It's the number that shocks everyone, that says, oh my goodness, like I got to get another job, right? If I'm going to spend like that.
Yeah.
So
You
just
could probably get, Mark, you could probably get information in terms of the cost of living in Regina versus Halifax versus Toronto versus Vancouver versus Stoughton, right? So that is available to you, but as Mark said, it's very personal to what you're doing yourself. So.
right on. So how about phone bills out there? What are people paying per month for a phone bill?
Let's assume it's a cell phone too, not a landline, because most of these people don't have landlines, right? So
185, 90, 80, 100. Perfect. 100. Thanks, everyone. Let's call it $1,200. Let's just call it 100 a month. And I know cable is outdated. It's Netflix. How much is Netflix? $5 a month?
it's zero when you steal your friend's password. That's what most of these people will say, I'm sure. Yeah.
Good. So, but there's a question. I don't know. Everyone does different streaming and television. I know my brother-in-law's got. We were over at his place for dinner the other night, and he's got about 1,000 channels of all kinds of streaming that he does, and it's $5 here and $3 there. But I don't know if that's a big cost that people have every month, but no.
I think Netflix is like $12.99, $13.99, but
$16 Netflix, perfect. 30 for streaming. I like that. Let's just put in $30 a month. Let's just call it for your streaming needs. So $360. So here we go. Apparel. This is always an interesting one. This is very personal, but for all of your clothing needs, what do you think you might spend per year in clothing? Let's just, if you want to do it annually, you can do it monthly. Doesn't matter. We'll get there. We'll get an annual number. Anyone want to throw out a number about what they're spending on clothes per month, per year? 200 a month? Dana, thanks. Anyone else? Let's roll with it. Throw $2,400 in clothing.
I'd be about there. I'm a bit of a fashionista, though, as you know, Mark. So it's.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Let's roll to furnishings. I don't know about furniture, appliances. If you're living at home, if you have to pay anything, is there a number in there we throw in? Anyone buying furniture these days? People spend money on a bed. A bed's a good investment. You spend a third of your life in bed, so you want to have a good bed, right?
yeah.
Mark owns a mattress store, so just take it.
Yeah. 1,400, there's a good number. Anyone else? Okay. You know what? Just put $2,000 for the year in furniture for now. Just as I said. How about transportation? Car payments. What are people paying for car payments these days? $650. Thanks, Jillian.
That's a tough one to do the math on. I better get the calculator out for $650.
Everyone's got cars that are paid for.
$7,800. I pay $400 a month.
Bonnie zero. Okay, Ashley pays $400. Bonnie, what do you got? You got a bike? Scooter?
Using the $650?
Yeah, that sounds good. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
The
Good job,
Toyota
Bonnie.
Sienna. That's a quality vehicle. Those will drive forever. You put oil in them. That's good. Yeah.
Hey, we have a 2006 Toyota Highlander. I know what you're saying. Haven't had a car payment for lots of years on that one.
I just sold a 2006 Toyota Highlander.
Oh,
there
Mark,
you
you
go.
get to add it to your fleet.
What'd you
They
get
last
for it?
forever.
What'd you get for it?
What did I get for it? 62.
Perfect. I'm in the money.
It's a good price.
Right on. Okay, how about gas? What do we spend on gas per month, everyone? $50? Yeah, I'd have to say at least 50 a week for most people, so call it 2,400. How about for your plates? What do your license plates cost you to plate your vehicle? On the 2008 Sienna, it can't be that much fun. 85, 75
Oh, yeah.
per year. I live in, oh, Bonnie, then you got to pay some cash. Not cheap in Alberta.
The SGI is, it's a good institution, I guess, right?
Yeah. So you know what? 85 a month. Let's call it $1,000. Just put it for license and registration. And let's leave it at that. There's lots of other categories. I don't know, the personal one. Anyone want to talk about how much they use on haircut? Like me, not so much. $15 a month for a haircut.
I cut my own hair. I don't know if you
I
can
know.
tell. Yeah.
My wife's trying to do that for me, but I said, how would I get updated from the guy that cuts my hair for the last 40 years? How do I get my information? Right?
Yeah.
My news source.
Stay in touch. Yeah.
Ladies, big bucks.
So
$70. 100. Perfect.
is that once a month then? Is that how often ladies get their hair cut?
75.
Every
Good.
6 weeks.
Every 6 weeks. Okay.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's just throw it in that category. Just throw it under hairstylists. Just put 1,200 and leave it at that for the category. As I said, you're going to see where we're going to on this. Okay, here we go. Recreation. We can lump it all in one number. Like you can put vacations. Vacations are separate. Well, let's just talk about the things you do every month, whether it's home entertainment, but what goes that with home entertainment means buying a case of beer, a couple bottles of wine, or doing those types of things. Some people may have a tobacco habit or anything, but anyone want to give us some numbers? Anyone want to give us answers to what we throw into that category? We're lumping it in vacation separate. We're just going to lump it in for entertainment. What does it look like?
This is all your booze, going to the bar, drinking at home, the darts, you're smoking,
120 a month.
illegal cannabis now, of course, going to the
There you go.
movies. Yeah.
Plus 100 for booze, yeah.
Plus 100.
Yeah. So about 220 a month.
That's pretty reasonable, Dana. You're very responsible.
Dana.
So kudos to you. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I haven't heard from Josh in a while. I'd like to hear what Josh spends on booze in a given month. Just it won't get back to Jerry, Josh. Don't worry.
We seldom, human beings, we don't like to talk about our vices. We like to talk about all the things we do good there. It's nice and cheap being in the States. Yeah. Right on.
I don't want to say how much I spend on beer either, so that's fine.
No.
Yeah.
I drink tequila. Good answer. All right. So let's throw under home, just call it home entertainment, call it $2,400. So $200 a month. I know that's way cheap. And how about vacations? Anyone? I know it's been a strange year, but what does everyone you spend normally if you took one nice vacation a year? What do you think that number is? $1,800, good number. $1,500. Thank you, panelists. What do we do? Call it 1,800. 1,800. Perfect. Gifts. How about gifts? Birthdays, anniversaries. People, big gift givers out there? Anyone spending money on gifts? Even for your mom, your dad, your family, you got to spend a little bit of money every year. What do you say there, old cheapo Craig?
My anniversary is Thursday, 15 years, so I've got to come up with something in 2 days. So I'd
75
love any
cents.
ideas today. Well, maybe offline. Actually, Mark,
Yeah.
you can help me with that one. But
I will.
yeah, $1,000. Oh, that's very nice of you, Dana. That's good. I wish I was in your family. That'd be a pretty good gift for me. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, put that in there. Perfect. Now, Craig, over to you. Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the number that we have right there. If you look at the grand total of what you need to spend, 54,769, there's a whole bunch of things that we haven't included. We've included food and eating out a bit, mortgage or rent payment, utilities, telephone, your streaming services, clothing, small furniture amount, your transportation costs, your personal aesthetics, recreation, a vacation, gifts, your EI and CPP that you have to pay gets you to almost $55,000. If you have to pay your tax, the number down below shows you need to be making $71,000 a year just to pay that stuff.
Yeah, and the thing that we're missing on here, Mark, is of course, if you highlight that area and savings, Ashley, like we talked at the start, do you save first and then spend, or spend? I'm a spender first. My solution is to make a lot of income. That's my big goal, and then the spending is okay. But
Yeah.
the other thing here is there's not a lot of jobs coming out of university that are paying quite that much money, unfortunately, just right out of school, whether it's a trade school or university. So it's a challenge, obviously.
Yeah. And that was the message in this, ladies and gentlemen, on the call, is that, to Craig's point, this is no savings at all. And we've done this exercise, I don't know how many years in a row now. I've been doing this, I started this program when my son was 18, which was 8 years ago. Started delivering this literacy thing, and started with a group of him and his buddies. And they did the budget up. There's 7 18-year-old guys in grade 12 sitting around the room, and they did this budget up, and they needed to make $99,000 coming out of university just to live the lifestyle that they were living already, because most of them were still living at home, right? Actually, all of them were still living at home, but they sort of put these numbers out that, like, yeah, this is kind of what it would cost. So the reality is that is the power of doing a budget, is saying, yeah, this is what I'm spending. And then if you look at it and say, well, if I need to make 72 and I'm only making 60, I'm not even saving anything yet, I have to reevaluate what's important in my life. Any final thoughts on our budget planner before we drop you into a quick tax overview?
I'm pretty impressed with how responsible and frugal everybody is. 72 grand is about the lowest gross income we've needed to earn out of this exercise that I can recall.
I think you're right. Yeah. Like that 55 before before you have to pay your tax, I think it is a really reasonable number. So thank you for your participation. Hopefully it resonates with you, and will actually just get you interested in perhaps doing your own budget. And as I said, that budget planner, I think we posted it last time, didn't we? For people to have?
Certainly we did. Yeah.
I can send it out with the presentation as well too. That's easier.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Ash. All right, so we're going to our very last exercise. We are at 5:13 right now. I think that's the time I have on my 5:13.
We'll be able to do it pretty quick though, so we should be. We always estimate it'll take less time than it does, I suppose. But so, am I the host, or
I passed the host back to you.
I'll share
So as Craig's preparing this, what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we're just going to hit 4 or 5 broad categories when it comes to doing your income tax or understanding the concept of income tax. And just before we start that, I know once Craig gets us there, he has actually got a poll question.
I do indeed. Yeah, I just got to get my cursor to work.
No cursing.
We're launching the poll question right now. Have you ever filed your own tax return? Ashley, what about you?
You guys already know the answer to this. No, I haven't.
I want to shame you in front of everybody, though. That's the whole.
My mom does it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's, it's professionals like me. We love taxes. Not everybody does. So we can see actually that it's quite common at this age range that a lot of you would not have. So the quarter of you that have done what, that's really cool. That's really nice to see. Hopefully you don't put us out of a job here at Vertis Group anytime soon, but appreciate the efforts you're giving. So of course, taxes, we've already kind of touched on some of these concepts. I just want to, like, this slide will be more useful for you, like in the reference notes. I don't want to take up too much time, but one thing we have to remember is that any income we earn, we're going to always, the tax man's always got to get his chunk out of that. And in particular, a recent example we've seen is that some of you may have got that CERB benefit, the $2,000 a month if you were unable to work and could access that. A really important thing to know about that one is that's taxable income on which they have not withheld any tax. So normally if you're getting a job, your employer is holding off the right amount of taxes on each paycheck. So you may make $3,000 a month, but they're going to only pay you $2,100 or whatever, and that's sort of gonna, because they're taking that off. So if you have any CERB money coming into you because you earned at least $5,000 last year in income, just remember that next year's tax return may have a bit of a surprise for you there. Just be aware of that. So the first chunk of income typically does not have any tax withheld on it or any tax owing. That's the basic personal exemption. And there's different amounts for federal and provincial returns, but we don't want to get into the weeds there. But the first 13,000, there's no taxes. And then federally, you're going to start to pay 15%. Between, say, that 13 and 48,000. Provincially, they tack on another 10%. So I just like to use the rule of thumb of the first chunk you're going to pay 26%, and then it goes up to 33, and then 41. It goes all the way up to 48% here in Saskatchewan. So, but the other thing we have to pay on top of income tax is Canada Pension Plan. So that's it's 5.25% now. It used to be only 4.95%, like any of you care. But so up to a certain amount, we have to keep paying in 5%, and then your employer also matches that for you. So when you're paying in a CPP, it's ensuring you get a benefit down the road when you do retire or when you get to at least age 60, or at least we hope it will, because people have always had conspiracy theories about CPP going away for 20 years, probably, Mark, but it's still there and going strong. So anyway, that is forced savings for you as an individual. So it's hard to really view that as beneficial when you're aged 19, 20, but it is very good in terms of the long run for you. And then we also have employment insurance we have to pay into as an individual. And so you pay, we can see on the slide here, you're paying about $850 on if you get to the maximums, and your employer pays 1.4 times that amount. So that's if you get laid off, or these programs that we're seeing in that the CERB and all that, they're coming out of the premiums people have paid into employment insurance through the years. So go ahead, Mark.
So just, and just a quick recap, because and you got it for us, but just reminding people that we have to pay tax at both the federal level and the provincial level. Yeah. So for those of you that saw what Craig did, he took the 15% from federal and the 10.5, and he just called it 26, which we often do. So just remember that up to that first $45,000 to $48,000 a year, that's what we have to pay. The first 13, no tax. So just remember that. But as he's adding all this stuff up, you see why he gave a great example. Even though you're making $3,000 a month, you only get $2,100 in your bank account, because this is what you have to pay. They withhold your tax, and they send it to Revenue Canada. They withhold your CPP and EI premiums. All of that comes off your check for the tax has to be paid, but for future benefits. So just remembering that.
Yeah, those of you that have branched out and maybe have your own business as a self-employed individual too, there's no tax withheld at your source of income. And so you're generally going to have a big tax bill coming at the end of the year. So it's always important if you're in that boat to kind of be aware of that. So Mark did point out an example we wanted to highlight, is that the marginal tax rate is different than your effective tax rate. So I had a buddy in university that was mad about getting a raise because he was going up into the next tax bracket. In his mind, he thought that meant that now he's paying that next higher level of tax on every single dollar that he had earned. So he was sort of confused between a marginal tax rate and the effective tax rate. So the marginal tax rate just means that in different levels of income brackets, we pay differing amount of tax. We paid higher levels of income, we pay a higher proportion to tax. But we still get that same lower tax rate on all the income we've earned up to that point. So our effective tax rate is when we consider all the different things we have going on, and we just take our total income combined, and then we compare it to the actual total tax we're paying. So at lower rates of income, say you're at $30,000, you have a very low effective tax rate, and that climbs up quite a bit as you raise your income higher and higher. So what we're going to do now, I'm hopeful that this is going to work, because I had some issues with my numbers and that other thing, but I'm going to try to share a little thing. We'll run through a little bit of a tax return to sort of show everyone kind of how that looks and works. So it looks like we're going okay here. So this is what's called the jacket, or the T1 general is the form, and this form is available just on the CRA website, but typically you're going to file your stuff electronically nowadays. But you would start here by filling in all your different personal information. All this is very exciting, interesting stuff. I'm not going to bother with any of this crap. You answer questions about doing the election, or the idea of exempt income. Do you own foreign property? Most of us don't have to deal with that for the most part. This is kind of where we get into the nuts and bolts of it. So we thought we had to earn $71,000 to make a go of it in that earlier example, but I'm just going to start with around $40,000 of employment income. So we would start by, oh, I can't punch in. I must have a number lock going on somehow that I don't understand how I did it. So I can't punch it in, and I'm embarrassed again. This is just a travesty.
Would Ashley have it? Would you be able to?
This was in the folder on the network, Ashley.
Oh, okay. No worries. We could just talk to the boxes that we're going to populate.
So we would punch in our employment income here. This section, step 2. This is where we factor in all our different income sources. So you can see that there's employment income. There's, if we get commissions, if we're say selling cars or selling in insurance, that might come in there. We're not getting only old security at our age, but we sort of go through all the different areas of income. And then if maybe you have a rental property, it goes into here, it comes across. And self-employment, like I mentioned, if you're say doing contract work, that might come across in here. So if we had $40,000 of employment income, it would start here and just carry all the way down. We're going to add it all the way up to get to the bottom to get to our total income. So in this case, we're saying we only really have our income from our job, our employment, and we're going to be at $40,000 in this box, is what I would punch in if I could. So now we get to, okay, we've got our total income that we've earned, and we're going to put it in here and carry it across to the next box, just sort of here to here. And we have to, any of these things that we're going to have as deductions against our income can kind of come through on this next section. So in general, a lot of folks may have a registered pension plan through their work, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, of course. But these give you a direct deduction against your employment income. And then you can say you're paying into the union dues if you've got childcare expenses, or if you move for the purposes of getting a job, you can deduct some of those costs against your income in that year. So we would sort of come down, and normally we'd sort of assume, Mark, that we'd have, say, $2,400 of RSP or RPP through our work. And so we would have that punched in here. We get to our net income after all that would be $37,600 is what we would punch in here for our net income.
Okay, so just quick recap then, Craig. So total income is from total sources.
Yeah.
Then we move up to the next page, and from our total income, we get deductions potentially to get to our net income. So we go from total income, less those deductions to get us to net income. So these are the big categories to remember, everyone. We go total income, a few deductions to get to net income. And now we'll move forward. So remember, it's the whole purpose is, what is your tax calculated on? So now we have net income, and we're going to carry that to the next page.
That's right. Yeah. So this form is a little bit limited, but we'd have our net income kind of translates into our taxable income here. And all this stuff is going to be basically not really applicable to most of you at this age. So we're just going to come into your taxable income. So after all your deductions, that's the amount of money we're going to pay tax on. So anything we get to take off the top, we're exempt from tax on that. And now we only have to factor it in. So the other thing we have to take in, we talked about that basic personal amount on that earlier slide. So if we have $36,000 of net income, the first $12,000 in this year, the form in 2019, the numbers of Mark we're using for 2020 in the slides, so that's just a little bit more updated. The first $12,000 here is exempt. So now we've taken it from 36 or so down to 24,000 that's going to be taxable. And then if we're married, if we got children, if we're really aged, then we can get some of these other deductions. But in general, you guys aren't going to see much of that at all coming through. One thing you will often see is tuition amounts as a tax credit coming through. So that does kind of come off as in terms of your actual tax amount, but I'm just going to ignore it for the moment here, even though I don't have numbers. So we're moving through that. So let's just use our example of our income here comes into, hey, our income is 24,000, and this is only the federal return, so it's got the 15% tax rate. So it'd be 24,000 times 15% equals how much taxes in total we're supposed to pay. And then we'd have to add in the provincial amounts from a different slide, but we'll just use 26% times 30 or 24,000, which is going to be about, let's call it $6,000 in tax. So we'd say, okay, we owe 6,000 in tax, and then we'll have a section down here for the provincial stuff. I'm going to sort of skip past all that crap. We're going to say we've had total taxes withheld at source will be in here, right here. That's going to be, say, what's withheld on your paychecks. This is all coming from your T4 stuff with your wages. And then we're going to get to our net balance owing your refund. So if you're an employee, in general, the amounts that your employer withholds is going to get you to a very small refund number. And that's typically what we like to see. We don't like to see too big of refunds because that means you give them the government sort of an interest-free loan for a long time. But that's kind of the gist of it. So we start with gross income, take our deductions off, and then that we flow through, and we're going to compare it to the actual tax withheld. So as accountants, we sometimes get credit for refunds and get blamed for taxes owing. And in general, we'll take the credit for the refunds, even though we had really not that much to do with it, and we deflect the blame on the amounts owing, of course. So,
thanks, Craig. So just recap. In this example, total income of 40,000, couple of deductions, net income of 36,000.
Yeah.
So now your net income became your taxable income because there were no adjustments in that category. Of that 36,000, 12,000 you didn't pay tax on. Of the remaining 24, Craig calculated that you paid about $6,000 in tax. Once again, for those of you who have an employer, they withhold the proper amount. Typically, you get to the end of the year and you probably don't owe much. You might get a little refund. You might have to pay a little bit more. For people that don't have someone taking that off, an excellent point on the CERB benefit, someone's getting $2,000 a month for 6 months, it's $12,000 and no tax deducted. If they make some other income, all of a sudden they could be in a situation where they owe some tax. So that's the big takeaway from this quick little exercise, ladies and gentlemen, was how we go from total income to net income to taxable income, that you have to pay both federal and provincial tax. What is that number? How much was withheld on a monthly basis from each paycheck? And when they add it up to the end, if you've had more withheld than you owe, you get a refund. If you've had less withheld than you owe, you have to pay more. And that's the essence of what we just wanted to give you with, here's a tax return. If you've never done one yourself before, I think it's really important to just understand the concept of that what we just talked about. You don't have to, you've got people like Craig, if you want to get down in the details, and they know all the details. So
unfortunately,
Craig,
yes, yeah.
Yeah, Craig's kind of like, he's kind of like Batman, and I'm Commissioner Gordon. I just pick up the phone, I phone Batman for anything I need tax-wise, so he's always there.
Yeah, I like that analogy. I have a hard time sort of seeing my way into being Batman, but it'd be nice if I could. So that I think that's all the content we had for today, aside from any questions that anyone would have. So because that's I think that's it, Mark. Yeah, I've got through the slides. Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah. Sorry. So the one thing Mark and I love more than anything else in the world is questions. So if anyone has any questions for us, please chime in on the chat or the Q&A function, and otherwise we'll be wrapping it up until tomorrow here. I shouldn't have said that because now everyone's just like, okay, I'm going to leave.
Yeah, I'm out of here,
right? Okay, so Hudson asked a question. Is it a good time to be investing in Bitcoin? Mark, maybe you can field that one.
I say there's never a good time to be investing in Bitcoin, but that's just me, because we are the quintessential investment managers, not traders. But Hudson, that is it. There's a lot. I've got a guy on our team that could talk with you for a couple of weeks on Bitcoin and have all the intel. So if you really are interested, I would have no problem connecting you with him on our team to have that conversation. But Bitcoin is more like you might have an opportunity down at the casino if you want to go take $100 and play the roulette wheel for a while. That might be a little akin to Bitcoin, but it's an interesting medium for sure as far as finance goes.
It's yeah, there's been a roller coaster ride on that for sure. And Ali has a good question about a list of the possible deductions. Certainly, Ali, what we can do is follow up with you about different options, primarily at your age range. I guess in general, if you're self-employed, it's going to be, if as long as you've incurred the expense for the purposes of earning income, you can deduct it within reason, obviously. But as an employee, there's not a lot of stuff. You're generally going to have it'll depend on the nature of your employment and whether you're able to or not. But maybe what we'll do is I'll follow up with you via email and just see if there's anything more specific, so I can get you a little more narrowed answer to that for sure. Because unfortunately, there's not a magic list of tax deductions that accountants have access to that we can sort of. It's not like voodoo that we have the secrets and nobody else does. There's only a certain amount that it's kind of a common sense approach in Canada, which I do appreciate compared to the US, for example.
Good. Right on. So thanks for your question, folks. And yeah, and Hudson, I was being serious. Make sure, Craig can connect you with me and our team if you're interested, because I know you could have a good conversation with Sri and our team about Bitcoin. He's done deep research there. And do we want to, on the survey side, Ashley, you want to give them that, or Craig?
The survey, yeah, we would like to get some feedback from you guys, because that's all about making it better. Obviously, there might be some feedback on how we use Zoom effectively, but we sort of are, I think we're kind of self-aware about how crappy we are, so, but still, give us any tips. And Ashley, is that going to launch automatically when we close?
It's supposed to launch automatically, yes.
So what we'll do is we'll end the session and leave the meeting, and then you should get an automatic pop-up, Ashley, or I don't know how
the browser window will just change from us to 3 questions that you guys can answer.
you just
So
ask the
that's
questions
right.
and submit. Yeah,
Exactly. 3 simple questions. Remember, your responses are anonymous. They're not tracked that way. So please be as transparent and honest as you can there. It allows us to get better. We've been doing this for 5 years now. And as I said, just different year not being in the room with you. But once again, appreciated your attention and your participation and the questions. And tomorrow it's going to go deep on product and strategies. So that's the difference between today and tomorrow.
The mortgage calculator tomorrow too. That's always a fun one. So hopefully
That's always fun.
people can join us. All right. Thanks everyone for your time today, and we'll talk
Appreciate
again
it.
soon. Bye-bye. Thanks, Mark.
Bye now.